Good evening, Mr. Alex Manuel T.
Good evening.
I want to say a very big thank you for allowing me and my crew here to come and talk to you this evening.
Okay.
We know and we've heard that you are a financial engineer, so we came to talk to you about the economy of Ghana. Yeah, so basically that's why.
I'm grateful when you called me that you and your crew want to pay me homage so as that to enable us to discuss one or two things with respect to our economy. I was happy. Yes, like you said, I'm a financial mathematician or say financial engineer, as other countries will call it. Sometimes it's good we all share our ideas and we come on board as academicians and experts in the area so as to be able to build a better country. I think my research area was on the economy, especially with respect to exchange rates. So as you've come, I today I would want to go in there, and another time we can go into other sectors in the economy.
Okay. So I would like to ask if you know about our Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia.
Oh yeah, I know Dr. Bawumia.
We would like to have a conversation about him. So can you give us your general overview, how you see our Vice President?
Yeah, Dr. Bawumia is a fine gentleman, economist, because it's not easy to get doctorate in academia. That means he did a good or a human's job. And I salute him for that. I respect him, and he's a nice gentleman. Just that how he was packaged for Ghanaians was not the reality as to who he is. If you get the time, you and your crew, you can just go onto the internet, just go to Google Scholar, just type his name, Mahmoud Bawumia, and you will appreciate that his research area with respect to what I want to talk about today, that's exchange rate, is far different from. He didn't actually research in any area or something close to, how do you call it, exchange rate management. Most of his research were on this politics, who wins politics, and all those kind of stars, and slides on the currency. Or when in 2014, 15, 16, he was there touting that he knows the economy, the fundamentals are weak, and so the exchange rate is exposing the government of the time and all those stuffs. And he posted 170 questions, if my memory can serve me right, to the then Vice President, His Excellency Mr. Atta of blessed memory. I was like, wow, me a doctor. Anyway, but so for me, I think that he's an economist, but when it comes to exchange rate management in this country, he lacks the ability to comprehend the theories, the mathematical principles behind how the exchange rate can be really managed. And that is why when he assumed office as the Vice President, who happens to be the head of the economic management team, I think he has failed. He has indeed failed Ghanaians. So basically he's a nice gentleman, but he has failed Ghanaians with respect to managing the exchange rate, volatilities in this country, especially the depreciation aspect.
Okay, so you said earlier that you want to talk about the exchange rates. Dr. Bawumia promised us that he was going to arrest the dollar for us. And as we all know now, it's a different story. But we will be happy if you can talk to us about how you see the exchange rates in Ghana, the factors affecting it, how you think we can go about to solve all these issues.
Yes, indeed, like you said, Dr. Bawumia, he arrested the dollar. Yes, he arrested the dollar and gave the key to IGP. That was his quote. And it was true then that when they came, after elections, and we have what we call political stability. When there is political stability right after elections, things begin to take shape. And most of the benefit any political party who assume office will get will be as a result of the decisions implemented by his predecessor. So the exchange rate regime that they enjoyed, and he said that he has arrested the dollar or whatever, was as a result of the measures put in place by the predecessor in 2016. which had a ripple effect as of then. But you realize that when they assumed office and they started implementing most of their policies and whatever interventions or strategies, then you could hypothetically deductively realize that the fundamentals became more weaker. Because, like you said, when the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate will expose you. So far as the exchange rate started skyrocketing, then we could then say that indeed the fundamentals, are very weak as compared to the previous. So I believe that some of the things that affect our exchange rate regime in this country, for which Dr. Baumia has to sit up as the head of the economic management team and then look into, they are numerous. But we have both the endogenous and the exogenous variable. When we talk of the endogenous, they are the internal factors that actually, come together to give either a positive or negative shock to the currency. When we talk of exo, then we are looking at the external factors, which sometimes they are not easily to be controlled by the government of the day, because when it comes to some of those external factors, they are difficult to manage. But however, government can still put in mitigating measures to help reduce or control the impact in the economy, especially with our currency. When we talk of depreciation and appreciation of a currency or whatever, the currency exchange rate is basically, I would say, is just the price at which a commodity is traded between two countries. So it's like those days, olden days, barter trade, just that now we're using currency. So it's just the price for a commodity, which countries have agreed on, that this is the rate at which this particular commodity needs to be bought. And this is in a ratio to ours in this ratio, and this is in a ratio to yours in this ratio. So basically that is all about. And the cedi depreciation and appreciation is based on the principle of demand and supply. Demand and supply. When there is higher demand for the local currency, which is our cedi, then our cedi will have to appreciate. When there is higher demand for the foreign currency, then our cedi will depreciate. That's basically about that. Hence, we need to look at the factors that will increase demand for our local currency, or that will decrease demand for our local currency. These are what we call the fundamentals. And with these fundamentals, there are many. There are many of them. I can just put down many of them. I can talk of trade balance. I can talk of interest rate. I can talk of monetary policy, inflation, our growth rate, our international reserve, broad money, the loans we even take. We have what we call capital flight, and also I can talk of speculators in the system. There are many of them. And I believe that in trying to understand the depreciation in the country, we need to model. We just don't have to say that we are just looking at monetary policy and let's increase it by whatever percent, and so it should have a ripple effect. No, we need to model some of these things and then look at their ripple effect, their consequential effect, and then look at it with respect to time. But if the experts will only think that, okay, now what is really happening, if we consider trade balance, we consider interest rate, we consider monetary policy, so now let's just adjust our monetary policy to this point, let's do that to that. This is try and error approach, and that is what I think Dr. Baumia's regime as the head of the economic management team, they are doing. It's just a try and error approach they are applying. I believe that, number one, every expert will agree with me that to manage your currency, the first thing is look at productivity. Look at productivity. People have not realized that. Why is productivity an integral variable that needs to be looked at? The higher productivity, and if your production level is higher than demand level, sure, you will have excess of goods within the economy. And with excess of goods, you can now export if demand for that particular goods is found in a different economy, because Ghana is an open economy. So we trade with other countries. Now, the more you export, then you are getting more of what? Revenue from your export. The more you produce, and it's able to meet the demand for the people, that particular commodity, you are going to cut down import. So you realize that your trade balance will be surplus. Ghana, along the line, we have trade balance of surplus, but that, I should say, was kind of infinitesimal. So it never had any ripple effect. But when you have higher surplus, higher trade balance surplus, then indeed you realize that you can now solve your international reserves. And therefore, demand, you can then convert foreign currency into local currency. And so demand for your local currency will be high as a result of higher production through export and through reduction of importation, leading into positive and a higher trade balance surplus. You will be able to actually control your how do you call it, your currency. That is another one thing we need to look at. That's why I'm looking at government's ability to invest much into industrialization. And especially with Ghana having arable land here and there, invest much into agriculture. Go into the industry. But there hasn't been any conscious effort by the government. And the next thing, I've mentioned many of the factors. The next thing is also about the loans. We take loans, yes, it's okay. But you can see from papers or research people have done that when we take the loans, they only have short-term or short-run effect on our currency management. So they come in, small time, the currency becomes a little stable. And when government is obliged, it's an obligation for the government to remit all these, loans he has gotten or he has taken with the interest. When government begins to pay off the loans, you realize then that there will be higher demand for foreign currency, and our cedi will keep on depreciating. So if we are borrowing too much, that also has a negative impact. Look at when we went to IMF just recently. We were owing around 520 billion, and today we are owing somewhere 700 and something, over 700 billion. So if not because of the haircut and we're supposed to pay off these loans, I am telling you that the exchange rate wouldn't have been the 15 cedis as we see today. We would have been talking about some 25 cedis, 30 cedis per dollar. So it means that government should also look at how to generate its revenue internally, more revenues internally, to be able to meet, its budget. Else, if the government continues to borrow too much, that is also another problem. With the issue of speculators, I believe the central bank can find a way to deal with, and also the capital flight where the illegal means through which money come into the economy. I believe when they wanted to see if they could manage the exchange rate, that's when they were chasing these black market people. So my brothers and sisters, the issues are numerous. I personally believe that Dr. Bawumia has failed. He has actually failed. And at this point, we need to sit on a round table as Ghanaians, get experts, get scholars, especially modelers who can model the system for us, and we can then take it from there. So I've made mention of a lot of them. Inflation is one. For inflation, maybe another time I'll talk about. So I must say that number one, the things I'm saying that they affect our exchange rate. I'm talking about the trade balance. Because of time constraint, I wouldn't go much. The interest rate, monetary policy, inflation, the growth, the international reserve, broad money, loans, capital flight, and many more. But today, I've just delved much into productivity. The government should be investing into productivity. That should have a ripple effect in our export, thereby reducing importation, increasing our trade balance to give us higher surplus, and thereby increasing our international reserve to give us a higher duration for import cover. And then with this amount coming into our international reserve converted into the local currency, that is going to cause a higher demand for the local currency. And I have already said, when there is higher demand for your currency will surely appreciate. So this is one aspect of how to manage the exchange rate in Ghana. Maybe another time we can look at the other aspect for now. I'm grateful.
Okay, Honorable. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.